Hello everybody, welcome. My name is Paul and I've been eating a raw vegan diet now for 30 years. And I wanted to come here today and talk to you about some issues that people have with people that are eating a raw vegan diet. And it's not many people. Many people don't even think about how other people are eating unless they want to kind of knock it or something, or to knock the way a person's eating. And I tell everybody ultimately, do what works for you. If what you're doing is working for you, then there's no reason to look at and think about what other people are doing. But if you're running into issues and you're trying to find a way to improve some issues you're having, then you want to explore and you want to learn from other people's mistakes and other people's benefits, what they learned. Now, I know a lot of people have tried eating a raw vegan diet over the years, or a vegan diet over the years, or even a vegetarian diet over the years, and they ran into a challenge. They weren't able to figure out something and they weren't achieving their goals. So they figured it was the vegan diet or the raw food that was the issue. So they went back to eating cooked food, or even possibly went back to eating animal products or animals themselves. And everything we're going to do is going to be based on our own experiences. But even though we're all built the same way in terms of the way we're designed, with the same organs and everything else, we're not all starting out from the same point. Because based on what our parents were doing is going to be based on our ultimate health. So if your mom and dad were unhealthy and had a lot of unhealthy habits, it's very good chance that you're going to be born not with different organs, but your organs in your body are going to be weaker, possibly, than somebody who was born with healthy parents. So also what we were fed as a little baby growing up, or a little child growing up. All this has to do with our health. I tell people what you do now will determine your health in the future. I teach classes for children and introduce them to different fruits and vegetables they might not see in the average grocery store. And I explain to them what you're doing as little children will determine your health later in life. But it goes way beyond that. What your parents did, what you did when you were younger, all of that matters. So even though we're all designed the same way, and we're designed and created to be frutivore animals, to eat fruits, and we have the green herbs as the medicine, not all of us are in the same position. Now, does that mean we should add other things other than that? No. In those cases, even more important to follow the way you were designed. In the cases where you were born with a very strong, as they say, constitution, or your body was you would benefit to have parents that were healthy and they taught you health things and you ate healthy growing up, you can get away with eating things that go against the way we were designed. But when your body is weaker, you need to follow more closely the way we were designed. We were not designed to consume animals. We were not designed to consume animal products. And we weren't even designed to benefit from certain foods that people are eating that are called health foods. We were certainly not designed to properly digest and get nutrients from microwave foods and fried foods and other forms of processed foods. However, when I say we were not designed, that doesn't mean we can't do it. That doesn't mean we can't get some sort of benefit out of one of these other foods. However, if you go against the way the body was designed, there's going to be some factor that's going to be detrimental to your health. So there are people out there that eat fried food and microwave food and animals, and they seem to be doing okay. They seem to be doing okay. However, they'd be doing a lot better if they were eating along with the way they were designed. And we were also, if we were in nature, that's where we got to think about how we would live. And I try to put myself as close to nature as possible as I could be in today's world. Now, when you think about this, if you go to an aquarium and you see fish, or go to the pet store and you see fish in a cage, what they're doing is they're trying to mimic the ideal environment for that fish. So they might have a little fake bush inside the fish cage. They might try to get the water the way it would be close to nature. And they're trying to mimic the natural environment as best as they can. But whenever you take something out of that original environment, it's not always going to be as best as it can. So when we look at how we were designed, and the ideal environment for us would be a tropical environment, it would be an environment where we were using energy and using our muscles and building our muscles naturally every single day. It would be an environment where we didn't have all this artificial electricity and we were going to sleep at a decent time. We would live in an environment where we weren't eating late at night. We would live in an environment where we were doing the bulk of our work in the daytime, and especially our eating in the daytime. And we would make sure if it was really hot outside, we'd find a way to get hydrated throughout the day. So we wouldn't be able to thrive in that environment if we weren't doing the things we were designed to do. So if you were living on some hot tropical island and trying to just live off dehydrated food, it's not going to go too well. You need to get those foods that have a lot of high liquid in them and so on. So now if you take those fish and you try to put them back in their natural environment, there's an adjustment period that will need to take place to adjust back to the original environment. So if you take a polar bear as a baby out of the polar bear environment and put it in a tropical zoo, well, then you try to reintroduce it to the environment, there's going to be some issues because the body adapts to the environment around it. And so they have to readapt. So if you're eating a standard American diet or eating against the design of the way we were created to live, and you try to reintroduce that back into yourself, you're going to have some adjustment periods to make. And that is what we call or know as detoxification. And some people often do not have the knowledge and wisdom to understand the process of detoxification or how to handle that period where we're adapting back to our original environment and we give up. We say this isn't working for us. No, you have to meticulously work and find out, well, how could I reintroduce myself back into that environment? So depending on your situation, are you sick? Do you have cancer? Or do you just have a cold? Or do you just don't feel well? Depending on your situation, your age, your job, will determine how quickly you can get back to your natural environment. Take a polar bear out of a tropical environment and put it back from a zoo and put it back in a polar bear environment. Too quickly, it can kill them. Well, if you're really toxic and you take a 300-pound man who's sick and diseased, and overnight you try to give them a healthy diet, that detoxification is going to be too hard for them. So there's several things we need to do. We need to think about what is the ideal environment for us. And the way you figure that out is, well, how is my body designed to consume, eat, and live? And what environment's best for me to make that happen? So I could tell you it is a tropical environment. We are frutivore animals. It is eating a diet of a good amount of fruits, hydrating fruits in your diet, and making sure you're getting the green herbs or the greens, which are considering the medicine, and exercise on a regular basis, sleeping and eating at the right times, sleeping when it's dark outside and eating when it's light outside, not the opposite way around that many people do. And if you do that, you'll be pretty healthy. Don't be fooled, folks. Just because you can get away with doing something that's unnatural doesn't mean it's working for you. You have to overall look at what you're doing. And people will go a long way to fool themselves or kid themselves to think that they could eat processed candies and junk food and even animals, and to justify what they're doing. And it really comes down to what quality of life you want. Like I said, you can get away with it. You know, people say, well, I feel good eating animals. Well, I know people that smoke crack that feel good when they're smoking the crack. But what happens when you take that crack away? They hit a low. They run into some issues. Well, people that are living off stimulation, processed junk foods and animals and things, they feel great when they're eating the food, right? But what happens when they stop eating the food? You take some animal flesh eater, you take some body who's eating highly processed food, somebody who's overweight, sick, not healthy. Let them fast for 2 or 3 days. Go with no food. See how great they feel. Not likely. somebody like myself that's been eating a raw vegan diet for 30 years, doing best to think about environmental design and the way we were designed to be. Take away my food for 2 or 3 days, I'll feel just as good, maybe even better. I feel great. I don't need stimulation to feel good, to feel well. And the more you do, the better off you're going to be. So if you're eating animals and exercising, it's better to eat animals than not exercising. But if you're eating the way we designed, a raw vegan diet, and you're not overeating, which a lot of people do because of the toxic environment they're living in, from an emotional state, they're just overeating. That's the biggest problem we have today. In our natural environment, under natural circumstances, we wouldn't be overeating. You're going to thrive. Now, while you were in your unnatural way of living, if you ended up getting a disease, your body's doing what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to fight. It's a self-healing organism that's supposed to fight against things that are toxic. And anything not natural to you is toxic. And you need to get it out of your body. And if you're not going to try, your body's going to try to do it. Now, it'll get to a certain point where if you don't assist the body, eventually your body's going to have too much work to do and it's going to break. Just like any machine in nature, just like your car. If you don't take care of it, eventually it's going to break. Well, thankfully, we were designed in a way that we could last a long time before that happens. So we have a long time to change things around. So how do we change things around? For those of you that are watching, well, figure your ideal situation or environment, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Decide the realistic opportunity you have to get into those natural environments. Consider and understand what I say about creating a natural environment in your unnatural lifestyle. So if you don't have the ability to move to the tropics, well, you've already attempted to do it. You create a tropical environment within your own house. You put a heater on in the wintertime, and you try to make it comfortable for yourself from the standpoint of getting back to the way it should be. If you don't have trees to climb up and a way to get natural exercises, well, some people go to a gym. They're trying to get their body what it needs and trying to mimic their natural environment. So first, seek to get to a natural environment. I don't just mean where you're living, your surroundings, but also with your exercise, with your diet, and so on. Because if you're living in an unnatural environment and not trying to change it to a natural environment, but eating the different way, it's counter to each other. So if you're living in a cold environment, but you have heat on in your house to like 80 degrees, 90 degrees, and you're eating a watermelon, well, it's not ideal to eat a watermelon in a cold environment, but if you're mimicking that hot environment, then you can do much better. If you leave your house at 60 degrees, watermelon's not going to be good for you. So, the same thing with the electricity. We want to try to use electricity and in the daytime when it's naturally light outside, and go to sleep as much as we can when it's naturally dark outside. I don't hear many people talking about these things, but it's not that complicated when we think about the natural environment and what we're naturally doing. Yes, I do drive in a car. It's not natural for us to drive in a car. But I also haven't given up on walking and running and exercising and moving like many people do when they get a car. I ride a bike, I walk, I exercise. So you're going to put on weight and become overweight by just driving a car all day, doing an unnatural thing. Instead of finding a way to get your food and do what you do and just move naturally, whether that be in a gym, a swimming pool, or going on a walk in a local park. Do your best to think about the natural environment and what you would do on every single level, what you would do to get back as close as possible to nature. All right? I've seen a lot of people that try to do one without the other. They try to make these changes to a more natural diet without changing their environment, or they try to change their environment without changing their diet. It's not going to work. Any improvement to bring you back is going to be better than no improvement. But still, the ideal thing is to make that change all the way with everything, to understand it and to be patient with it. And what else can I say? There are people that make all these videos and say a lot of things, and everyone's going to have their own opinion based on what they're doing in life or the influence of others and things like this. But when I see people make comments and say different things, and I think about, not in a judgmental way, but in a way of, is this person, do they have something valuable that they're saying where I could learn from it? Or are they just speaking in ignorance? And when I see people doing things and saying things and living in a way that's not in their natural environment, whether it's with their diet, their surroundings, or something, I have to really pray that those people's eyes are opened up. And I appreciate those that say something that makes sense and they are living in a natural environment and doing things a natural way. From my observation, the tropics are the most natural environment. A raw food diet is the most natural way to eat. A low-fat raw food diet is the ideal way to eat. Following food combining is the ideal way to eat. Getting exercise on a regular basis. Not eating late at night. Making sure we're getting to sleep at a decent time. And enjoying what you do in life. These are things that'll help you get back to your most natural environment. All right, thank you for watching, everybody. Put your comments and questions below. Have a great day and a great real life.
Nature's wealth, good for your health. This is the raw life.